Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kyle Mao, and today we're going to be talking about the STOP formula. So what this is a very simple way of building out your team, your operations, your systems, and it stands for STOP, which means that 1, you build out systems, to 2, take back your time, 3, you then have smooth operations, and 4, you've got the right people in place in your business to actually execute those operations. So again, S, systems, T, time, O, operations, P for people. Here's how it works from start to finish. A lot of people, when they start off by building their business, they are a solopreneur. And there's a whole video about solopreneurs. I'll link to it right here, where basically what's the difference between a business owner and someone who's like a freelancer or a solopreneur. When you're in a solopreneur kind of state, you are the person who does the lead generation, you sign the clients, you do all the sales calls. And you're also the person who actually then fulfills upon that service. What that means is that you're in this never-ending loop of always having to get more clients, and then you have to fulfill for the clients. And while you do that, of course, your lead gen, your sales side tends to typically slow down a little bit. And as a business owner, it's really important once you have that momentum that you grab a hold of that momentum and you don't stop. You keep pushing, you keep rolling the ball down the hill, you pick up more speed, more momentum, more sales, more clients, etc., etc. You build the momentum, things pick up, faster speed, more momentum, more sales, more clients, more money in your pocket. Everybody's happy. At some point, the systems have to come into place because you're going to reach a point in inflection where you're going to get too many clients that you can handle. And there's only one of you, no matter what. There's only one of you. You have 24 hours in the day, just like everybody else. So that's where you have to start building out systems to fulfill whatever it is that you're selling. So if you're in an agency model, you're in a service-based business, obviously that fulfillment is the service itself. You build a system to fulfill the service. Obviously, every business is going to be a little bit different. For example, if you run a software company, you're going to be fulfilling with the software, which also is a system of types. If you really think about it, it's all automated, it's all software, there's no human element to it. But at the end of the day, it's still getting a result for a customer or a client. And that's what they are paying you for, is whatever that service or whatever that result is. That's the end goal for them. Here's how you start systemizing things. Every time that you do a task that you're doing it for a second time or a third time, you need to start looking at it as, how do I start processing this in a way that somebody else could come in and do it for me instead of me always having to do it? Let's use a very simple example here. Back in the day, I used to run a blog that got over 1 million visitors a year. And I also ran quite a few affiliate websites that sold a variety of products, from dating subscriptions to supplements to travel stuff. And it got to a point where I was running over like 12, 15 of these sites. And I was trying to publish multiple articles a week to every one of the sites. So if you do the math there, at a dozen sites, 3 articles a week, that would be 36 articles a month, all of at least 2,000 to 3,000 words, all SEO'd, all keyword ranked, all, done with images, correct formatting, everything. That's a lot. That would have been a lot of content for one person, me, to be pushing out every week. So what did I do? I started saying, which out of all this is taking the most time? Well, I didn't have 12 sites to begin with. So it was like adding all the images and formatting everything properly. Like I could write it all really fast, but then to go make all the headings look the same and to optimize the images and to make sure everything was keyword ready, that took a lot of extra time per article. So I had a virtual assistant at the time and I trained her simply how to do all that. Here's how you find the images. Here's how you add the images. Here's how you optimize them. Here's the way all the headings should be formatted. Here's the way that you need to go through this checklist and make sure everything's ready for the search engine. So I took all of that off my plate because I built a process on how to do those things, and then I trained that VA on it. And then as I started building more and more of these sites, it got to the point I couldn't do the writing. I couldn't keep up with it all. So what did I do instead? I hired somebody from Bulgaria. She was my first Eastern European hire. And I said, hey, I need 10 articles a week. And here is the criteria. It must be this long, must use the keyword that I've given you at least this many times, must be formatted this way, must be checked for, plagiarism and originality. It must be, all these different things. So then I gave her the criteria. She'd go write the articles. At first, I'd give her lots and lots of feedback to make sure it was being done properly to my standards. But over time, I put that into a system for her. And then that virtual assistant who was doing all the formatting and stuff, I started having her look at the articles. And then I said, hey, could you write some of these articles? And she was actually capable of writing them. So then I had 2 people that were writing articles and formatting them and putting images, and I didn't have to do anything except send money to them via PayPal. That is a very simplistic example of my business was at that point selling a product to people who found it on Google. So I was fulfilling a need for information. So the deliverable in this case was those articles. It was that information that was then published out that people found, and then obviously they would buy something from me and I'd get a cut of that. So that, in a nutshell, is a very simplistic way of how I built out a system and a process. So again, I built the systems. I got my time back from writing and formatting all those articles. I built that into a bigger operation where I had multiple people involved, and I had the right people pulling the right levers so that I didn't have to do anything. So again, that's the first step there. Systems. I built a system. What did I do with all that spare time? So this is as the business owner. So when I had a couple sites running, I was writing the articles still, and then someone else was doing all the formatting, all the links, all the image optimization. What did I do with all that extra time? So instead of me needing to spend, an hour a week on 10 articles editing them, what did I do with that? Instead, what I did next was I started researching how to build more sites quickly. So I'd say, hey, I have this one site in this supplement niche. What's the next niche? Like, what's a competitor to that supplement? So then I'd build a whole nother site around another area. I used all that time that I got back from not having to format the articles to build more websites in more niches and ultimately to grow the business, scaling it up. So again, I took back all that time. I built the business bigger. And as the business got bigger, what did it need? It needed an operation. It needed to come together in a more macro sense. So instead of then me just giving one person all these articles, I started bringing in more people. And as it got bigger, again, we went from, a couple sites to then, 8 to 10 to 12 to 15. I couldn't keep up with all those articles. So then it had to be hire the Eastern European person who did all the articles. And then there had to be a system of she submitted it and it went to the other person who then added all of the links. And then it kind of went to me for final approval. And of course, then it became an even larger operation because as the sites got built out and there was more content, it had to be backlinks. Like we had to link from an old article to a new article. New articles would link to old ones. We had to, get cross posts. We would post some of it to social media. So it became a larger operation than just one person reviewing articles. It became one person writing them, one person editing them, me signing off on them, and then obviously doing all of the fancy SEO stuff on the back end, getting all the proper links in the proper places. So that was then a bigger operation. And then of course to run that operation, and once all of that came together and there was a system and then a fuller, bigger operation, it was a matter of having those right people in place, continuously pull those levers. And at that time, my business, it was a small little business. I mean, it made pretty good money. It wasn't anywhere near like a full-fledged service business like, for example, HireUA is now, or even my olive oil company. That became so much bigger, so many ins and outs. This business that I'm talking about, this network of affiliate websites, was very simple, and it helps to illustrate just how the system can work. So again, had the people in the right place, pulling the right levers, really easy from there. The beauty of the system is that any point you can go back. If something's broken, you go back and you say, something's not right here. You got to go back a step and figure out what went wrong. For example, let's say that you've built out these systems and you're not getting any time back. Obviously, the systems aren't very good. You can't build a full operation. Like if you're getting to the point where you're adding more and more into this whole operation, guess what? If it's broken, you're going to be spending more time on that. So you have to go back a step again and build out the proper system to begin with. And then if you hire people to pull these levers and it's not going good, of course, it could obviously be the people you didn't hire right, but it could also be that there's a flaw in your operation. Something is just not right. So at any point, if you're finding yourself back in the grind of the business and you're finding yourself stuck, you just go back a letter and say, okay, so the people aren't working. Is there something wrong with the operation? If something's not right with the operation, go back a step. Like, where am I spending my time? And then you look a step back again, like, what's the actual system here? Does it make sense? And sometimes, especially with foreign talent, you just need to look and say, hey, how do I think they understand this? And they might understand something completely different to what you intended. So that's always a question you should ask your employees, is based off of this instruction manual and this training, like, what do you think this means to you? And a lot of times you might be surprised, like what they think you want and what you actually want. And it's a matter of sometimes just clarifying it. Sometimes you have the right people, but something is just wrong in one of the steps along the way. And in that case, you just correct it. Let's give another example in terms of like a small business agency. So let's say that you're somebody, you run a web design agency. Very simple. A lot of people do it. And you could put any service in this. It could be web design. It could be email marketing. It could be copywriting. It could be video editing. It could be graphic design. It could be anything that you imagine right now, but we're going to use like the agency model. So web design, you are the person who's doing it all. You're doing the lead gen, you're doing the sales. Eventually, you get enough clients that you're ready to start like systemizing stuff. And perhaps maybe you've niched down, which is always usually the better way to go. But instead of just saying, I build websites, you say, we build cutting edge landing pages for software companies. And at that point, you have done this project enough times that you can start systemizing things because you know what it should look like, the elements of that landing page, what kind of copy it should have, how many call to actions, and you have an idea of what the customers in that industry are actually looking for. So at that point, then the next time you build a similar site, you should document the process. Here's how I built the landing page. Here's what the header should look like. Here's what the fonts should look like, the backgrounds, all these little details of how this landing page is going to be put together. Because at that point, then if there's a system and you're not having to think through it all the time, you're going to get your time back. So once that system's in place of here are the elements of a software company's landing page that we specialize in, then you can hire somebody. The next time you having to spend that 20 hours to build that landing page, you get 20 hours back while paying somebody, a third or a quarter of what you charge the client. And then from there, you can start to operationalize everything. So then you've got all this time back, which you can put into more lead generation services, which you can put into refining your customer, your offer, as well as the systems that your new web designers are going to be implementing and working on. Then you start putting the people in place. So if you've got someone who does all the landing pages and does all your fulfillment, you do more lead gen. Guess what? Lead gen's going good. You start to systemize that, and then you bring in someone to work on that side of the business, and you take a step out. So then instead of, say, taking sales calls, then you're looking at new channels. What's the new advertising channel I can be on? How else can I get the word out about my business? S.T.O.P. Put all this together, and you have a system that will work for you that you can always reference back if something is not going right in your business. And at that point, then, let's say you're a web design agency, you've got someone doing the fulfillment, you've got someone doing sales calls, you've got someone doing other outreach, business growth, and you get to focus on all the other stuff that matters. This is the way how you go from being like a freelancer or a solopreneur to being a business owner where you have an actual asset at the end of it that can be sold. And I've got a whole video on that. You can watch it there. Solopreneurs versus business owners. And, long story short, basically, as long as it's just you, it's just you. It can't be sold. There's no real scalability because everything's going to always come back to you. Having an element of this that is outsourced where you have a team in place and then you could actually potentially step out of the business. Like nobody wants to buy a business that is so dependent on the founder or the owner of the business. Like, why would they? Why would someone come in and invest a lot of money so that they can get worse results because it's not the original person in the business? There has to be some sort of transition period. And if everything is tied to you as the business owner, then it's not an investable asset. And it's always going to be tricky in terms of like an agency or a service-based business versus selling something like a software company. It's obviously two whole different animals, but it can be done both ways. It's just a matter of setting it up properly and making sure, again, that you have the systems in place to take back your time, then the operation that is run by the right people. You put all this together, you have a very good, simple way to look at your business at any point and run it properly so that you can actually take back all your time on a macro level and actually do the things you want to enjoy in life. It's important that you get to enjoy your life still. Life is really short at times, and it's really important that you are able to enjoy that time with yourself and your family and the things you actually want to work. You're not in business if you don't love business and you don't love the game, you don't love the hustle and the grind, but it's also important that you're not a slave to that same business, that same grind. In any case, if you're looking for help on any of this, please book a call at hire-ua.com. We do offer full integration and operational services. If that is something that you need help with in your business, I will personally come into your business and look at it and say, hey, here's what is looking to be wrong. Here is how I would systemize this. Here is how I would, be taking back your time. And then here are the specific people that my team on the recruitment side, because I don't do any of that, because I've taken back my time in that area. Here's the type of person that they would find for you so that you can be out of that part of your business. If that sounds interesting to you, go to hire-ua.com, book a call, and one of the sales team will talk to you. Again, I'm not fully involved in that anymore. I've got it all outsourced and systemized. Anyways, as always, thank you for watching the video. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel for lots more good content about this kind of thing. And of course, make sure you follow me on the other social channels, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, the new Instagram Threads, whatever you want to call it. And other than that, thank you so much. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers.